All right, the Reds, it's live at 5. Manchester City 1, Liverpool 1 at the Etihad there, Saturday lunchtime. What do we make of that? Is it a good result? Are Liverpool now in a title race? We've got lots of comments coming in already on the YouTube, so thanks for that. Sensible ones we may read out. We also got some. I mean, someone saying,
I think you should start reading out all the mad ones.
How do you know E.T. is a Man U supporter? I don't know, mate. How do you know? Anyway.
Yeah. If you want to chat like that, come over to our TLC main show on a Wednesday.
But yeah, I asked earlier on the day on Twitter as well what people thought of it and whether they were happy with it. Got some comments there to kick us off. Ian Alex says, happy with the point, great performance from the back four. Simicast's best 90 for the Reds, ? Paul there as well, Paul Miney says, we take a point all day, don't we? The performance was okay, had some good moments, but some scary ones. Are we in a title race? A big fat yes, given we've played City, Spurs robbed, Chelsea away, Newcastle and Brighton away from home. Stephen O'Brien says, defo in a title race, would have taken the point before the game. Thought we managed the game well against a very good side, especially at the Etihad. See what he did there? We've lost titles by losing that fixture in the recent past, says JC870605549. Expect the other top teams to all take points off each other and Liverpool to do the business at home against the top 6. There's lots of positivity here, which I'm enjoying, which I like. Some people saying it wasn't a classic game. I think that's absolutely fair. But equally, my opinion is... We had a bad record there, didn't we? You know what I mean? I've got it written down on the agenda exactly what it was. We'll read that out later on. But, we needed to put a stop to that. I was there last season for the 4-1. I was there when we got tonked, when Mane got sent off as well. We needed to do something in terms of getting some kind of result there. We've got some kind of result there, and now we can concentrate on what we're doing and hopefully racking up some wins. Like this one from our mate Martin Fitzgerald as well. He says, why didn't Guardiola use any subs? Did he think it was the 60s?
Is that what the argument was about with Nunes at the end?
Yeah. 2023,
Yeah.
I mean, that I enjoyed the Nunes thing at the end, by the way, because in one of my mates' WhatsApp groups, someone was like, well, what's all that about there? And I said, it's about last season. It's about what he did to Simicast. It's about what he did, where he celebrated in Simicast's face last season.
Is it?
Yeah. So he's gone
Someone
over.
else said that to me.
So everyone's tried to do the lip reading thing and all that, and the general conclusion is he's going over saying, "Did you like that goal? Did you like that goal from Trent?
Did you like that goal? Nice,
yeah, because he's pointing back at the goal and all that.
Oh, nice.
And then obviously Klopp intervenes. But
well, the way Klopp's tried to evolve himself into like the granddad of football. Don't you think? Like he tried to calm down De Zerbi the other week. Since he last got in trouble and fined.
Yeah, he's changed.
It's like he's changed. He's gone like, I'll try and keep everyone else calm.
Well,
now.
I wondered about this. Actually, because you've said that, I wonder. There wasn't a yellow card in this match until I think it was the 75th minute. Yeah, 75th minute was when Nunes sprinted back 60 yards and tripped Foden, and there was a yellow card for that. Now, given everything that's gone on with Liverpool and yellow cards and red cards and dodgy decisions and all the rest of it, and Klopp getting in trouble with referees, and the referee for this particular game being from just down the road in Ashton-under-Lyne and affiliated to the Manchester FA and all of that stuff, I wondered whether there'd been a collective chat about let's not give them anything here. Do you know what I mean? Because I was impressed by Liverpool, how they limited City to not a lot of great chances. There's a quote from Guardiola. Again, I've got it here on the agenda and we'll get to it probably. But he said something like, we had 8 or 9 chances. Nothing backs that up.
No.
I've got the stats here at the top of the agenda. The expected goals for Manchester City at home with their brilliant home record was 1.36. And okay, it's 0.56 for Liverpool. But nevertheless, we've obviously limited them to not great chances. We've handed them a goal as well. The goal is from a succession of Liverpool mistakes. So I think all told, are you fairly happy with how it unfolded, or certainly with the result?
Yeah, well, on the Guardiola thing first, I don't think enough people have either got onto or mentioned this is his pattern. He always does this. When they aren't that good or they don't do that well, he comes out saying they were great, couldn't be happy with them, blah, blah, blah. And he waits until they've won convincingly to criticise them for stuff. Like, it's just like the older psychological shit in the book, do you know what I mean? So I just ignore all that bullshit from him. He's an oddball at the end of the day and a fucking genius, which usually goes hand in hand. From our point of view, I think Klopp said it like after the game, and I think even Trent mentioned it, that at half time he was saying to them, like, imagine if you'd have played well, what would have happened? Like, yeah. I think that's the slightly disappointing thing for me is we could easily have won that game if we'd have played a bit better. We got a draw. And I think one of the fascinating things is, did you see Klopp's pre-match press conference? And someone asked him about, like, Joe, what's the likely outcome of the game type thing? And he went through the scenarios, Joe, like, Joe, play well and win. Play well and don't get a result. And he was like, play badly and lose. Play badly and get a result. And he went, well, that's the least likely thing to happen, is play badly and get a result. But actually, not that we played badly, don't get me wrong, we didn't play badly, but we were nowhere near the level we can get to and we've seen this side get to, both on an individual and collective basis. Like even the dream boy who we've all been raving about all season, Szoboszlai wasn't great.
No, he wasn't really in it, was he?
And you do think, like, we were saying last week, Joe, if he comes to the party and he really grabs the game by the scruff of its neck, but that comes into the wider picture to talk about Joe, the 12:30, it's off the back of an international break, 12:30 on a Saturday. You've got fucking McAllister saying, it's so hard to play like this. I was asleep in team meetings in the lead because I've got jet lag. And everyone forgets this shit, don't they? Like, I mean, I'm quite happy to say Alisson's performance is 100% because of that. Like, it's the worst Alisson's played all season. And if his mate from South America who's been on the same flight as him, it's like, I was falling asleep in the team meetings yesterday. Well, I'm guessing the same impact as he's had the same impact on him, on Alisson. So
I think
there's all kinds in it. And I think ultimately we got a draw not playing that well against the side. Let's not like skip past this. They have won 23 games on the bounce. They're not unbeaten in 23 games at home. They've won 23 on the run this year. So to go there, not play to your best and get a draw is really good. At the same time, the point Martin makes jokingly, there is something behind that. Like they had injuries and people are forgetting. I'd forgotten. Like De Bruyne's been out most of the season, hasn't he? And they were still top of the league going into that game. Grealish was out. If they'd have, we've all said, like, you know, and I've already said we could have won it.
We've had injuries though.
Yeah,
we're playing Simicast at left back.
Yeah, 100%. But the players they're missing, they will say, well, if we'd have had a couple of more players, we'd have been able to make changes later in the game that would have impacted the game, and we couldn't really. So both sides have got something to complain about. We obviously come out of it happier because we were away.
I think what Trent said was interesting, where he said it's always difficult because subconsciously when you play against Manchester City, you've got a lot of respect for them and the way they play. You think you can't really get tight to their players and you stand off them a bit. That seemed to be the problem in the first half. In the second half, we put that respect to the side to try and get a result, and that's what we did. I think that has been an issue. You know, I compared it to, you know, how it used to be when we went to Old Trafford. Like, so we had good Liverpool sides, but for whatever reason, you know, you'd be there in the stands watching them going, I'm watching this team at Anfield and they're not doing themselves justice. They're not playing to the standard I know they can. And it is that, you know, like, I think you can go through all the training you want, all the psychological stuff you want, and we know that Klopp likes all that. But still, you're walking out at their ground against them, a team that's pipped you twice to the title by 1 point, a team that's about to set a record and didn't. Because you referenced the 23 wins that they had. If they'd got one more, they were matching a record set by Sunderland in the 18-19s.
Yeah.
And now they've got to start again.
Yeah.
Unlucky. So I'm made up with mini bits of needle like that. I'm made up with the, you know, Nunes needle. I'm made up with Trent's celebration, because these are an annoying club. Do you know what I mean? These are a thorn in our side. And I think that'll be in the heads. And I think it has been in the heads. And our record has been really poor there for a long time. Out of the last 14 Premier League away games against City before this game, it was drawn 5, lost 8, 1-1. And the 1 in the Premier League, and the 1 is Klopp's first one, the 4-1 in 2015. So that's like a bit of a monkey to get off your back. Do you know what I mean? And like, okay, it's only a draw. And I saw all that. You always get, you get the negative Nellies, don't you? And I saw the stuff on Twitter about it's only a draw and calm down, lads, and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, it's also not 4-1. It's also not 5-0. It's also not us having to come in and face the cameras here and say, oh, it's only 4 points gap between us now and blah, 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 blah. So all that told, I'm fairly happy with it, like.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't know what you're like watching it, but...
Nervous.
I was just going to say, it's the one game, like, my girlfriend came in after it had finished and said to me, what was it like? And I was just like, exhausting. Like, I realised halfway through a Man City game, or like half an hour into the game, you just tense the entire time watching it. Is that how you feel watching it?
Yeah.
Because it's like, at any given moment, you know that we can spring and score a goal, but you know that they are so good that you only have to switch off for a split second and they'll score and you're fucked. And I mean, that is what happened for the goal, isn't it? Something that frustrated me about the performance was we made a lot of mistakes. We were given, and I think if we were doing the Man City podcast, and I think you were Guardiola, you'd be behind the scenes saying they didn't make enough of our mistakes. We gave the ball away a lot. And even for the goal, you mentioned, like, it's a series of errors by us. Like, even to the extent that I think Alisson should have saved it. Like, I think he's disappointed not to save that. And he gets a hand to it.
Yeah.
And usually when Alisson gets a hand to it, you could see he was disappointed in himself. And obviously starts with him with a shit kick, which, if executed correctly, would have led to us having a chance.
I know, the idea was good, wasn't it? I mean, but I just found that goal annoying, not only because, there's the shit kick, but then you've got Nathan Ake waltzing through Trent and Szoboszlai with such easy fashion. And then, him just, having that chance edge of the box. And look, he's going to hit it on target. I couldn't hear what he was saying on Sky, but I was saying in the pub watching it, that just looks like massive over-analysis of not a particularly great goal. It's scuffy, you know what I mean? It's scuffy and scruffy. I don't think he hits it dead clean. And like you say, keeper of Alisson standard maybe could have had that. And it was just annoying to hand them a goal like that. Because, I seen something, I getting stuck it on the agenda because I don't get it. I don't get so fucking what, basically. So, there's loads being made of Jeremy Doku completed 11 dribbles, the most in a single Premier League game since September 2021. And telling you that the last time that happened is Adama Traore against Brentford. Yes, sound. Someone else who went past players and there was no end product. Because I thought it was quite clever. Trent's going to... Doku's good at dribbling, obviously. Doku can take players on. And, there's someone in the comments, like someone was just asking there how come was on the Anfield after he thought had sacked it off. They pay him, me lad. But, Doku, yeah, Sam, we know we can take players on. And, he's been doing it all season long. But he didn't particularly hurt us, did he? I don't think that they're creating chance after chance after chance like Guardiola's claiming, but no one else can see it. Because as I say, the stats don't back up what he said. They've had 16 shots across the course of the game, City, to Liverpool's 8, but 5 are on target. They only had 1 on target in the second half, City. And that's them at home, Superman, the world's best team. I keep hearing all the time and all this kind of stuff. And we're out of there with a draw. And they've got to come to Anfield. Well,
it's funny as you're talking, I was just... Because this is the thing about stats. I don't think I don't think enough of us and enough people listen to stats and think about what does
someone's give us that.
Have they?
Yeah, it's the first time that's happened. No?
Right, thanks. Woo! Send it in cash.
£2. Nice one, Deno, lad. So
Yeah,
it's a super. Is it a super like? Is that what we call it? Super chat, something like that. Yeah, it's all set up now on YouTube. So if you want to do stuff like that,
I feel like my dad now. Like I'm sitting here going, I don't know how they've done. What have they done?
Giving us £2
just by pressing a button on the thing.
Bloody hell, Dad. Come on, carry on. Talk about the footy. Stop embarrassing yourself.
Yeah, no. Okay, I'll have that again. He doesn't know what a KC is. I don't think enough of us stop to think, what does the stat actually mean? Because it's sold as a positive thing, isn't it? So it's like he completed 11 dribbles today. Isn't that amazing? And people are using that to say, and Trent's shit.
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah.
But what does a completed dribble mean? So I've literally just searched it. It just literally means he ran past someone.
Yeah.
So do you remember Mark Walters? I remember I used to joke about this in school. Mark Walters beat a man, step over, beat a man. So he'd get a completed dribble for that. But then he'd stop and come back the other way. And so you'd get another completed dribble for that. So you could dribble past the same lad 10 times in a run and then give the ball away. And you'd get 10 completed dribbles on your stats.
Completed dribbles. I mean, to really sound like your dad, the stat that's important is that we got a point. We've got a point. Well, we stayed in touch with them.
I'll take yours to sound like me dad, and I'll double it and
Brace has given us $10. Barry's tea fund, it says.
Hey, fucking hell!
Hey, we're flying now.
We're just gonna say this is a dough collection show. Yeah, I'll double down on you, and I'll take you to me granddad. What my granddad used to always say: there's only one stat that matters, the goals. That's it. Fuck everything else.
Yeah.
Like we scored one, they scored one. And look, to come back to the thing you said about Haaland's goal, I think in fairness, the bit that he was getting a lot of credit for was his touch. Like it's Mo Salah territory, isn't it? And that is, I've seen different people talk about Núñez and Haaland, but the difference between Salah and Haaland and the lesser strikers, whoever they are, like Núñez, why people think Núñez should be on Haaland's level or should be on Salah's level yet, I don't know. Haaland's a freak of nature. Mo Salah became better as he got older. Núñez is going to get better. He already is. I hate
that line from the media. That's really doing my head in. That line, the constantly comparing those two players. The comparison,
yeah.
Because, given some of the charges that are against Man City, how they've operated and all the rest of it, there's going to be a level of shade to that deal I wouldn't mind suggesting. So they only paid X for
fucking hell.
Like Sam,
but he had a release clause, didn't he?
Yeah, and no one, he wanted to go there, and there's the connection with his alpha, etc., etc., etc. So it's just like it's ignoring information to compare one to the other, because we were never going to sign him. And we're more likely to sign a player with potential, work on him and try and make him better. And that's what we're doing.
But there's a much more important stat than the transfer fee, isn't it? The wages.
Yeah.
How much will Haaland be on? 300 grand a week. And how much will Núñez be on? 100.
Hey, we're getting more here. Paul and Mish have both given us another £2. Get some tea bags. And Paul says, screw the stats, points over stats. Absolutely. And someone saying there 45 minutes of the post-match was dedicated to Trent. It's all a bit boring, the amount of analysis you get. I mean, this is the thing about that. There are sort of like things that the media seem like obsessed with.
Yeah.
And one is Trent, and they can't defend. And then you get all these banter blurts on Twitter or whatever that you've got to tolerate because you have to dip your toe in that world if you're doing this kind of thing. And it is boring. Like that, the lad had a great game. For me,
he's fucking man of the match.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, scored the boss goal, but also this is where you can tell anything with stats type of thing. So okay, Doku's completed 11 dribbles, sound. Trent was top for interceptions and possession one in the same game,
and scored,
and did a boss celebration, and is a brilliant player, and is ours,
and had a massive influence on the game,
and is still young.
I'm saying Trent had more of an influence on the game than Doku, and Doku to me. Like earlier in the game, I was thinking, and it's funny, it says in this tweet, cheat code. I was looking at Doku thinking, God, they've bought another cheat code. And then I was looking at him afterwards thinking, no, he is. We've seen this type of footballer before. They look very fucking good, don't they? Look like, I think they're very appealing to the FIFA generation because they beat a man, and it's exactly that. I've run past him 11 times. Yeah, but what did you fucking do with it? Well, I think Jack Grealish playing in that position would have caused us more difficulties because
it was interesting how much he targeted them, wasn't it? Because, you know, a lot of people are saying Tsimikas has had a good game, and I agree that he was solid. He did nothing wrong. There was no sort of Toulouse-esque mistake or anything like that. I've said on here before, I didn't think he played well against Everton as well. Both that on to Toulouse as well. But he did nothing wrong. He was solid, but not a lot in general came down that side, did it? It was very much the tactic was the old chestnut, target Trent.
Yeah, I've got this thing from years ago where Danny Murphy was our player of the season once. And I remember saying it says more about the season than it does about Danny Murphy. Because if Danny Murphy's your player of the season, you've got a problem. And I think it's the same with Tsimikas. Like, I think it was probably his best game for Liverpool. But that says more about his overall career for Liverpool than it does about that game. Because I think he was good, in fairness. I think he did. He covered a few times really well. His defending was solid. But that was it.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? It wasn't spectacular. It wasn't brilliant. So for that to be his best game for Liverpool,
I see a point in the week though about him, and I sort of took it on board a little bit because I don't want to do him down. Look, you know, I'm just trying to sort of be honest about what I see really, and like I seen a point being made where someone was saying, you know, you can't help but compare him to Robertson, and he's not Robertson. And it's not his fault that he's not Robertson. Yeah. And he's not going to be Robertson as well. Do you know what I mean? Because that's back to...
Well, I always say...
Make. Yeah.
You've got every lad in your squad can't be the best player in the world.
Because they don't want to come.
They wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
You're not going to get someone as good as Robertson.
Do you want to be left back at Liverpool? Haven't you already got one that plays every single game and he's brilliant? Yeah, but you want to be left back then? Yeah. Well, I won't get a game, will I? Not really, no. I'll jib it then. Yeah. All right then.
Yeah. Ta-da. Well, I'll tell you what the next question in that conversation is in real life. How much will you pay me?
Yeah.
And we say 80 grand a week. They go, fuck off. Pay me 200 grand a week and I'll come and sit there. And we go, we can't afford that.
That isn't it as well? Like, well. In terms of the question of sort of where are we and what does it mean and all that kind of thing after this result, Andrew Beasley, hello mate, he tweeted us this afternoon saying, got to be happy with the result and the performance was decent in light of the circumstances. Early kick-off, international break, etc. The Reds are definitely in the title race. Got to stay in it until February in a 6-game run starting on the 17th of February. City face Chelsea, United, Liverpool, Brighton and Arsenal. Ooh, I like that. I like that from Andrew.
Yeah. What we could do right at the beginning, that was Chance wrote this yesterday. For all the talk of Haaland and De Bruyne, if we've already seen this year, there's evidence to show it. Rodri is their most important player because they don't have another Rodri. It's exactly the point we're talking about. They can lose Haaland, and okay, they don't have another Haaland, but they've got loads of attacking talent. They can lose a De Bruyne, and they can make up for it because they've got loads of amazing midfielders. But Rodri is a very special player. He does so much in that side, and now he's even added crucial goals to his repertoire for them. And so we could do with a little. I know lots of people don't like this, do they? But little knock for Rodri just before that little run of games, and things could get interesting.
We've got one. Someone's give us $1.99 now to get some chocolate hobnobs to dip into the brews.
Well, they give us the exact amount. Can you do that on the donation
super
bit?
Chat.
The exact amount for a packet of hobnobs.
This is from SA, so thanks for that. This is sound, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just sitting here talking shit and people dropping £2 in. Do you reckon this is the future?
Maybe. Is this how it works on OnlyFans?
I wouldn't know, mate. We have got to mention the 12:30, I think. Did you see that clip, by the way, of Klopp getting Vinny from Sky in like a bit of a headlock? Yeah. Go, thanks for the 12:30. Yeah. Proper bullying him, like.
I feel sorry for that Vinny. Over the years, he's been proper bullied, hasn't he?
I know.
They all get into Klopp.
Like, I remember him having to ask. I was just about to say. Yeah. Because he's the one who always has to ask that first question, isn't he? And he was asking questions that he must have known Kenny's going to give him the death stare for. Yeah. And then he's got to ask it anyway because the desk has told him to ask it. And he's paid by them, so what's he meant to do? He's sound Vinny as well. He's a good lad, like. But yeah, it made me laugh that there's Vinny being bullied while he's trying to do his job again. But look, it is shit, isn't it? There's no two ways about it now. And look, in this particular instance, it was the coppers they deem this to be a high-risk fixture, and therefore, out of the slots available, this is the one that they wanted it to be at. So there's lots of talk always about the broadcasters and all the rest of it. I heard on the radio this afternoon, imagine it being like tonight, or imagine it being the R4 on Sunday, both of which I'm sure would have resulted in a better game. I mean, as the McAllister quote for people who haven't seen that, he says, honestly, it's so hard to play like this. On Friday, we were in a meeting talking about Man City and the way we wanted to play, and I couldn't keep my eyes open. It's very tough, jet lag, long trip, but it is what it is. We like playing football. We want to win, and we'll do our best. To be fair, he was one of the ones that I was worried about. And that's even more worrying when you hear him saying his eyes are closing on the Friday in a team meeting, because he was obviously hooked at Wolves for that 12:30. Klopp subsequently, saying it was a mistake to start him. You can argue that was his best game for Liverpool, I think.
Yeah.
I thought he played really well. I thought he was almost like, Mascherano-esque, Terrier-like at times, but he kept the ball well. I think he's got something like 93% pass completion in this game, which is, given that who you're up against, the caliber of them, where you are, the occasion, the jet lag, etc., etc. Thought he did really well.
Yeah, and look, there were times in the game, even going back to what we were saying before about the general performance, there were times in the game where we looked great. Some of the passing, some of the control, the calmness on the ball, and that's what Klopp's been talking about by having someone like him as your six. And we're both on the same page with this, and I think many Liverpool fans are, and I think, in fairness, Klopp and Pep Linders are, that, yeah, he'd be your perfect number 6 if he was 6'4" and was really fast, but he's not. So the problem is you've got a trade off, and that's why Rodri is so important to them, because he's this fucking he is a Rolls Royce of a player with all these attributes. McAllister gives you something in that position that many footballers don't give you, and it's the same with Trent, isn't it? Like, people rave off him as a right back, but the reality is he's not a right back. Trent Alexander-Arnold is an unbelievable midfielder that was converted to a right back. So, of course, he's going to be the best passing right back of all time, because he'd be one of the best midfielders of all time if he was in his natural position. And McAllister, in a funny way, isn't it, this game sort of suits him, because there is a lot of that technical passing of the ball. It is mad how, I think Trent talked about this after the game as well, just how little space there is in games like this, because they're both playing very similar. They're both very compact. So the middle of the pitch is just, I'm watching at times, it's funny that you see people like Curtis Jones getting stick, and you're like, fucking hell, lads.
It's hard,
Do you know how hard it is to play in that game of footy?
I mean, he didn't have his best game, did he? I think we've got to be sort of honest about that one. And it was no surprise to see him hooked, which is a bit of a shame, because I was hoping, he'd take advantage of the opportunity. And now, a lot of people are saying, well, Gravenberch back him then, and that kind of thing. Someone's mentioned there, Dano, who's given us another £2 in the process. Thanks, mate. He says, don't forget Joel. What a performance. He was another one. Matip thought was great, bringing the ball out. Just keeps going him, doesn't he? Like, you keep thinking, 32 now, I think he is, and bit of a shame that, like he's getting to the latter end of his career, and we're going to have to start thinking, another centre half in and him probably out and all that. But that was a fantastic game, and like I absolutely I love when he goes on his mad runs. Like, even I probably shouldn't describe it as a mad run, because it's not like if they didn't want him to do that, they'd say, fucking stop doing that, lad. It seems to be like part of the plan to do it, and he's really good at it.
Yeah, you know it's the opposite. But this, like, they want him to do it. That is the key. And it was literally a point in the game when it was like, someone needs to sort of like break this game, and then Matip and Nadal just beat 10 men. And we've had this conversation before, but it's mad. Joel Matip, and I do genuinely think, when you stop and think about it, I was chatting to my family about this yesterday. If he looked like Virgil van Dijk physically, he would be worth over £100 million. He is a phenomenal centre back. Phenomenal. If Virgil van Dijk brought the ball out of defence the way Matip does, everyone would be creaming about it. They barely mention it, don't they? Have you got onto that? Like, Sky even barely mention it. No one goes, isn't that phenomenal the way he just carried the ball out?
No, never.
Then?
He's never the story.
It never says that.
No.
And you're like, But Ferdinand, I remember this year, Joe, don't show my age here, but Rio Ferdinand was like raved about as this ball-playing Franz Beckenbauer type defender who could carry the ball out. He didn't do it anywhere near as often or as well as Joel Matip does. No one barely mentions it. And you're like, I don't get it. And I do think it's just because he's a bit of an odd character.
Style,
he's gangly. He doesn't look cultured. So he just looks like he doesn't really mean it.
But as you've just
he's done it so often.
As you just said, it's a top-level match with no space in it. You know, and Trent himself is referencing how difficult it is to play in these games. And he's going past 3 or 4 people with ease.
In the middle of the pitch.
Yeah.
Where even Trent himself has said there was no space in the middle of the pitch, so I was going out wide. You're like, well, Joel fucking found some space, mate.
I said yesterday when we were talking about it, like I said, you know, there is a thing about him where you almost hear Benny Hill playing when he's running with it.
But that's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what, and it goes back to that thing about like, Joe, the stats fellas not wanting to watch footy. They like to watch the stats because as soon as it's the money, it's literally Moneyball. As soon as you start looking at the player, it has an effect on what you think about them. Just because we're all biased. So if they run funny, you think they're not as good. Like there's literally, I rewatched Moneyball, the movie, the other week. There's literally a fella in it who throws the ball funny, so no one wanted him. But his stats are off the charts.
But it's like when we got Crouch, isn't it? I mean, you know, and obviously he had that mad drought when he first started, and then even the one when he finally broke it was a bit.
Yeah,
that one against Wigan, wasn't it? And it was a bit like not sure. But once he got going, like he was one going back to what you said before, just to go off topic here for a minute on a tangent. He's one where if the budget had been bigger, I think he would have stayed at Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? Just up his wages a bit and say, okay, mate, you're not going to start every week. But we defo want you around. Yeah. And we all loved him. I don't think he disliked being a Liverpool player, particularly how you heard him talk about it subsequently. So, yeah, it was a bit of a shame now. Still had a few. I feel like we should mention people who were throwing in on the super likes. Rebecca Challenger said, recently discovered the pod, the most honest, fair Liverpool podcast. Keep up the good work. She's thrown in $4.99.
Nice.
Thanks very much, Rebecca. That's great. And then James has thrown in. This is a bit of a tangent, but we'll go with it. He says, not on the agenda, but my lad with special needs lives in Huyton and I need to move locally. Any advice? Am I better off going to, say, Roby or Whiston?
You need to, what's his name? James
Smith.
James, you need to get onto our main TLC show if you're not on that yet.
I know we talk about really random stuff on the main show more so than on this. But very quickly, I mean, Roby's quite posh. One of my mates is from Roby, and we always used to give him a little bit of stick because I'm from Huyton and he's from Roby. Whiston, I would say it depends whereabouts. Some of it's all right and some of it less so. So just do your due diligence when you're moving, really, don't you? So like, you know, go there different times of day, morning, noon, night. Have a little drive round, see what the area's like.
We're going to evolve this show into like a live advice show, like an agony one.
Maybe that's what it could be. Speak to the neighbours.
£2 and Robbo and Coco.
Go in the shop. I looked at a flat the other week and I went in a cafe opposite, bought some scran, sat down and everything, and then said to the woman when I was paying, what's it like around here then?
Yeah, you could do a channel on this, couldn't you? Because you've got a lot of experience.
So you could do that, James. That would be my suggestion. Okay, back to the footy then. I wanted to mention this. So we're up there. You know, we've got a chance. Mm-hmm. We're third favourites according to the bookies still to win the league this season. I'm very quietly, we've now only lost one of our last 24 Premier League games, won 15, drawn 8, and the only one we lost was 2-1 at Spurs with 9 men. No, you let it go. You let it go. So, you know, quietly, we're doing all right, aren't we? Because it feels like, to me, you know, going back to the point, some people in the comments were making the same point. The stuff you hear about Liverpool a lot is quite negative, isn't it? Like, Núñez, you know, is it a miss? Núñez can't do this. Núñez can't do that. Trent can't do this. Trent can't do that. Well, what I've just read out sounds pretty good. It sounds like we're all right at competing in the Premier League right now. And this, with still, as we keep saying on the shows, all the turmoil of the overhaul in the summer and players leaving who he didn't expect to leave. And even the ones he did expect to leave, it was a lot in one go, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? And they've got these players in one go. And by and large, you'd say they've hit the ground running.
100%. And we didn't expect to be this. I think we're way ahead of where we expected to be at this point.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Yeah, 100%.
Like when you think about, compare it to United, and I saw funny, I've just mentioned to you before we started recording, I heard Roy Keane say about Everton playing United and the typical Roy Keane comment, and I saw him talking about where they are, and he was like, they're sixth. He was like, there was a time not that long ago where that'd be embarrassing.
Yeah.
But, where they are now, I guess. But if you look at where they should have been, where did they finish last year? Third. And bought more players, and they're meant to be progressing. We had a massive overhaul in the summer, and we've basically rebuilt a side in the past couple of years. And to be where we are is way ahead of where I think we were all expecting to be. To have gone to the Etihad and got a draw, not playing well, with players we've got out, players coming back from international duty, some players not in form. I think it's just all looking really good.
Well, I mean, the table right now is Arsenal top 30 points, Man City second, 29 points, Liverpool third, 28 points, Villa fourth, 28 points, and Tottenham down to fifth now with 26 points, and then Man United, apparently the form team in the Premier League, although
which is wild.
I know, I'm not convinced. Though.
I heard that going into the Everton game yesterday, and Joe, it's one of them where you're like, what?
I know, but I mean, even the Everton have loads of chances, don't they?
There's no
loads
way.
of shots.
I left the house to go to my auntie's, and United winning 1-0. And in the 5 minutes before I left, Everton missed like 3 big chances. I don't know whether they counted as big chances in the stats world, but in the normal world of footy fans watching a match, they were big chances. And Joe, I drove to my auntie's. Half an hour later, got there. I was like, they were losing 3-0. I was like, what the fuck happened? And when people are talking about Man United, like, all right, they're winning games of footy, but they're still shite. They're still absolutely shite.
I'm not convinced. I'm really, really, really not convinced. And, when I look at our forthcoming fixtures and I see them on it, I'm like, Sam, bring it.
Well, this is the thing that you just said about that. I think that the thing now is, and I think Klopp's got onto this. I remember Ferguson, who I love to reference because, they dominated for a fucking generation and I had to witness it, the fucking bastards. But he figured out that you don't play Man City every week. Most of the teams you play are not as good as you, so you should just go out and beat them.
Yeah.
And I think that the thing about that run of 24 games unbeaten, there's too many draws. And the reality is, I was looking at our upcoming fixtures before and thinking we should be looking to win 8 on the run there. And the reality is, forget Man City. We've played them once now. We got a draw away. We get to play them once more in the league at home. So you've got to aim to win that game, obviously. But aside from that, that's the only game you can directly affect them. We've seen this year that other teams can take points off them and will take points off them. So all we can do is go, right, what can we do? And what we need to do is focus on going on one of those runs where you win 10 on the run. And you throw everything in to win them. Yeah. So if you draw them with 10 minutes left, you throw in to win. And something I did like about the City game, actually, about what Klopp's tactics, I think he bottled it a little bit at the end, and even Neville on telly, if you're watching the pub, you probably didn't hear it, but he was saying, I'd like to see the game end with that side on the pitch. Joe, once he brought Gakpo on, and we were looking like clearly we're going for it. Then we equalised, and then everything settled down a bit, and he obviously went, yeah, I'll take the draw.
That's all right, yeah.
Which, Joe, I get. It's easier saying that stuff. I've said this a lot in the past. It's easy saying at home, well, what if we just rolled the dice a bit more? But then you could easily lose. So you take your points and run. But I think we can win the league if we have one of those runs where we just put win after win on the board. And I think this run of fixtures coming up is one of those runs, because even the big teams we've got to play, we're playing them at home.
Thanks to Jeffrey there as well. He's thrown £2 in there. Thanks very much, mate. The current odds, Man City odds on to win the league, Arsenal 7-2, Liverpool 9-2, Villa and Tottenham 50-1, and Newcastle 66-1. Paul Gorst in the Echo today has said, make no mistake, City firmly believe their old rivals are in the hunt once more. The subtle shake of the head from Pep Guardiola as he prepared to enter his own press conference betrayed the Catalans' feelings about the results. Perhaps he shared Silva's belief of a renewed, refreshed Liverpool. Having finished a distant fifth, some 22 points behind the champions last season, such a turnaround seems unthinkable. But if any club knows how to navigate their way around Guardiola's City's behemoth, I can never say that word, is that how you say it? To title glory, it is Klopp's Reds. Liverpool won't concern themselves with that debate anytime soon, but supporters should at least allow themselves a fleeting moment to dream after this. And 100%, I mean, you think about last season and how soon last season was a write-off, how soon, the belief just seemed to drip away. And it was like the players as a collective and even the manager at times looked done and beaten. It was like, it's not happening. It's not happening. Whereas it seems the opposite right now. I think it's a real test right now of whether you're glass half full or glass half empty. Because is it 11 or 12 fixtures, I think, where we've gone behind and we've got something out of the game better than anyone else. So you can say, looking at that stat, if that is indeed correct, you could say, well, is that a bad thing then that we keep going behind and that's a problem and it's not sustainable? Or are you glass half full and you're going, no, it's boss. It shows the spirit. It shows the fight. It shows that they keep going and they're just staying in there. They're still up there. They're all right. They can get better. They can improve. There's a January transfer window. There's players to come back. There's Robertson to come back. I think it's a real test of that. I mean, we haven't even mentioned Alisson yet. I mean, that looks to be a hamstring, doesn't it? The way he was holding himself. That's a blow. That's a big blow. He's the best in the league, the best in the world. And, to lose someone like that, Kelleher's all right, but he's not Alisson's level, is he?
No, it's the same point, isn't it? Kelleher could easily play in the top 10 in the Premier League. I think there's some of our rivals who'd have him. But from the best goalie in the world, there's a drop off to everyone, isn't there? That's the reality. And he is the best goalie in the world. I think it's as simple as that. I mean, it is funny watching Ederson play footy because when I'm talking about Trent being a centre midfielder playing right back, Ederson's a centre midfielder playing in goal, isn't he? Some of his passing is just... Yeah. Did you see the one... And again, I'm not sure enough is made of it, or maybe I just don't look at enough to... He played a side-footed pass to someone in the centre circle. I think it might have been to Foden. Can't remember who it's to. And he bent it round our attacker who's in between him and the player. Side-footed, 60-yard pass. Basically along the floor with bend on it. He's a goalie. Yeah. You're like, fucking hell, lad. That's just ridiculous. And at the same time, he's not as good a goalie as Alisson.
No, I don't think he is.
Alisson is ridiculous. For us even to be able to say he'll be disappointed not to have saved Haaland's shot shows how good he is. The save he made from Foden, like we're saying, it's his poorest game of the season. That save from Foden's shot was unbelievable. And again, not enough gets made from it because you're just used to it. You're used to him pulling off these unbelievable saves now. Made a save that be in the build-up to scoring our own goal.
What do you think of the goal that was disallowed?
I thought it falls into the category of a lot of things, which I think, I said this through the weekend, I think footy fans need to have a bit of a word with themselves now, and the media needs to have a bit of the word with themselves about subjective decisions. It's a game of subjective shit going on. Some will go for you, some will go against you. That's just the way it is. I think it could have easily gone the other way. And at the same time, I think if we'd have had a goal disallowed for that, I'd have said, yeah, he's got his hand in his face. You can't, however much influence it had on the goalie, and however you can still say, I still think he should have. Alisson at his best still catches that ball.
I think so, yeah.
But it's still a foul, I think. You can't put your hand up again. I know there were people saying, yeah, but that's when strikers and defenders challenge, that's how they challenge. But I think it's just different when you're putting your arm across a goalie's arm and face. It's just not allowed.
Have I said that wrong? Have I before?
Which? Behemoth.
How'd you say it?
I'd say it's just not allowed.
Oh, there's us.
Have I said that wrong? Have I?
That's weird, isn't it? I was going to get one of them things, where it says it on Google, but then instead I got us up. But anyway, it is all live. Well, someone's buzzed off me and thrown a fiver in, so I've made someone laugh anyway.
Do more of that. If that's how we're going to make money now.
Someone's fuming that we're only reading out the comments, apparently, of people who are dropping down.
Fucking capitalist. That's what you are. You're a fucking capitalist.
I mean, my on that goal, the disallowed goal, I thought it looked soft. It looked soft in real time. Yeah. When I saw it, I just thought Alisson had cocked up and it was a goal. But once they'd slowed it down and all the rest of it, and like you say, there's an arm there. And we know as well that keepers are overprotected and have been since
that's just the way it is.
A long time. So, I mean, to be fair, I don't think I saw City complain too much about it either. So
they didn't.
It's one of them, isn't it? Where were we? I was going to talk about what we've got coming up because, it does look like it will be with Kelleher, but equally, I don't know, there's like a double argument here. There's one argument to say it's at the worst time because of the sheer amount of football we're now about to play. But equally, the fixture list is fairly kind from here on in. And as you say, these are the teams that we should now be beating, and we should be able to get on a bit of a run here, clock some points up and throw it in the direction of Arsenal, City and etc. and say, you need to do your bit. So we got Lask on Thursday. They are 20-1 to win at Anfield. The draw is 15-2. And those type of odds sort of tell you everything you need to know about that. That's followed by Sunday. We've got Fulham at home. They are 8-1 to get a win at Anfield. 11-2 the draw. We then go to Sheffield United. As some people have already noticed and commented on, I did do the Anfield app yesterday, and there was some talk on there of that being a difficult one. You got to be going there and beating them.
Sheffield United.
Yeah. I mean, there was talk on that show of sort of when we went. And we got that lucky goal from Wijnaldum and all that. I was at that one myself, and look, I get it in terms of it's a small pitch. They get behind the team, all of that kind of stuff. But I think Liverpool should well have too much for them. Surely, like they're not impressive, are they? At all.
They're shite. And I get it. Yeah, it's.
And then we've got Palace, and then we've got another Europa League game. United at home, 17th of December. West Ham at home, 20th of December, and then Arsenal at home, 23rd. It's a nice run, isn't it?
Yeah. And look, it depends. We don't know as we do this. We don't know about Alisson's injury, but you don't play Man United till the 17th of December, which is 3 weeks from now. So that's if he's tweaked his hamstring, that's enough. You should have enough with Kelleher. And he's not as good as Alisson, but he's a very good goalie. He's a good shot stopper. He's good with his feet. You should have enough with him in goal to beat Fulham at home, Sheffield United away, Palace away, and the two Europa League games.
For all this talk as well that, like Liverpool can't defend or whatever, and all the usual sort of tropes that seem to be connected to, wider media analysis of Liverpool. We've played 13 games in the Premier League and conceded 11 goals. So that's the second best in the league. Second only to Arsenal, who've conceded 10. But two of those goals are to Tottenham Hotspur in a game where we got absolutely diddled. No, you let it go. So we've been doing all right, haven't we? Do you know what I mean? Anyway, what are we worrying about?
How many games has Robertson missed now?
I know. And he'll be coming back and he'll be great.
So, I don't know. It goes back to what you're saying, mate, about how many times have we talked about this over the years? The number of people who watch Liverpool or watch footy in general, and they just don't seem to enjoy it no matter what's happening. You're like, I think you just need to find something else to do. Because this is good. It's good generally. It's all right. Like, we're doing well. Let's look on the bright side. And there's more to come, as you say. I'd like to see us buy someone in January. If we strengthen at the back, or we get that number 6, whoever it is we're looking for. And we just don't know who that is right now. But I'm sure there's someone on the list. I'll keep banging on about Szoboszlai for all the people who do that. Well, who do you think we should buy? And you should be able to name them. I'd never even fucking heard of Szoboszlai before we signed him. So
well, people are mentioning in the comments there as well about Thiago, and I've seen a few people. I've seen Linda's actually talking about that, saying, "Can you imagine him playing with this group of players?"
I've forgotten he even existed. If I'm honest, mate.
Still here,
yeah.
Still here, still a Liverpool player.
Bajcetic,
yeah,
like, still out. He's a great option in your midfield as a 6, and they will come back at some point, won't they?
Yeah. So yeah, there's loads and loads and loads of reasons to be cheerful, and I think we'll take that all day. I've seen a comment before. I think it was from Ian, who regularly comments on the show. Nice one, mate. And he was sort of saying, like, you think about, excuse me, all the past seasons where, like, we've been out of things dead early. I can genuinely remember, going to games, being on to games for a long, long time, but going to games and being like, I just want a season where we're in things past Christmas.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Got a chance. There's some hope.
And okay, last season's a write-off and 14 defeats and all the rest of it. And outside the Champions League places, that's not our usual standards. But I can't see I can't see this all falling down like a pack of cards. I mean, obviously you can get these things held against you. Who knows, there could be a mad injury crisis or something, but touch wood, that is not the case. Touch wood, that instead happens to some of our rivals. But everything points into, points to positivity, points to we're in a good place. And, like I say, you look at that run and just think, got to be winning all them, surely.
Yeah, and the other thing is, something we said at the start of the season was, you need a few teams to be able to pull City in, take points off City. The good thing about the way the league has gone, like, it is one of the most exciting leagues. It's setting up to be one of the most exciting leagues, maybe ever, but definitely for a long time. With the small number of points that's separating the top 4 or 5 sides. So as long as there are sides who can still take points off City and still do take points off them, we've got a chance. And all we need to do is be there or thereabouts going into the new year. Something quite funny has happened in the comments. So apologies if you're sort of watching this afterwards and then like you're just constantly hearing me referencing things that are dropping in. But it's another reason why you can jump in and watch it live and enjoy it that way. So Edward has jumped in and said, hello from India. Love the content, gents. Agree with Paul. We should be proud of an incomplete Liverpool team that made City drop points at their fortress. I feel we should look to win all, but take the draw when we get it and look for the next win. Up the Reds. And then Edwards dropped in $2,000. £2,000.
No, rupees.
I wonder what you were searching then.
So I was like, people were commenting, other people were saying, hang on, what's that in pounds? 20 quid.
That's still very nice, isn't it?
Thank you very much, Edward.
Thank you, mate.
Love the fact that you're all getting behind the channel. We've been trying to grow all this for a while. It's been a bit of a slow burner, but it does feel lately that more people are jumping on, more people are liking and subscribing. It makes a massive, it has a massive effect on us, doesn't it? Generally, that when we see numbers going up and all that sort of thing. So thanks very much.
Just remind me as well, we didn't tell the story, did we, about our fella who said he was going to send us Bitcoin?
Oh no,
we haven't told that.
We haven't told that on here yet. No.
Yeah, you'll have to jump on our Patreon if you want to hear us.
Yeah, we'll save that. Yeah, blag. But yeah, well, that's pretty much it, I think. I mean, you threw in the other day that you wanted to give a little shout to that. Klopp generally still gets up Guardiola's nose, doesn't he? So, they're all still sort of shaking hands and saying the right thing. But, as it stands, between these two managers, Klopp has had 12 wins over Guardiola. This obviously goes back to Germany as well. Guardiola's had 11. There have been 6 draws. And yeah, Klopp's is like, there's this like nemesis aspect to Klopp, isn't there? Yeah,
and in fairness, he said as well, didn't he? Like, we're the biggest rival he's ever had anywhere. Like this, the Liverpool side he's had to come up against. And yeah, so did you just say this? 12 wins against 11. In the context, again, I don't think enough is made of this, because I say Guardiola is probably the greatest manager of his generation. And one of the greatest managers of all time. Given the context of the sides Klopp has managed when he's faced Guardiola, and the respective resources that they've both had at their disposal. And just to, I know you were like this, how few charges for cheating Klopp's had against him in that time.
Indeed.
In comparison. It's massive, that. That's a huge thing for Klopp to be ahead of in wins. That's across the managerial career, so Germany and England. That's huge.
I'll tell you what's another little thing before we go as well that I noticed and just thought wild. He's had a pop at his own fans again after this one.
Yeah.
So he said, it's 12:30, we were still in the sheets. It's 12:30, we were still sleeping a little bit. Yeah, I would like noise. I like noise against Liverpool, but okay, it didn't happen. Do you know what I feel when it doesn't happen? You have to play better. But then he was also seen sort of tapping his ears throughout the match, looking at the stand behind the dugout and wagging his finger at fans and all this kind of thing. And there was a fan that rang into the phone-ins just basically saying, like, I mean, obviously he had to tone down his language because he was on national radio, but he essentially said, I'm paraphrasing, will you fuck off with that, Pep, you bellend? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, why are you turning it on to us? Like, and it's a bit of a weird one to do that, isn't it? It's a bit like, you know, is that where you said before you think he spins it a bit? So this sort of, you know, saying like, oh yeah, we had 8 or 9 chances when nothing suggests that you had 8 or 9 chances. Is this just, is the fans thing the bit where the chimp's got out of his cage and he's got to say something? So he's just had to pop at the fans?
No, I think he's got a thing about it. I think,
he's comparing it to Anfield?
Yeah. I think, and it's a question I've got for you, actually, and it's something I've been saying for a while. There's a little, I think we'll do it at some point, a little mini series in our other shows of like who should be the next Liverpool manager when Klopp eventually goes, whenever that is. And there's a few contenders, but I've said in the past, you know, whenever Klopp goes, the next manager should be the best manager in the world for Liverpool, whoever that is. And if that's Pep Guardiola, why wouldn't we go after Pep Guardiola, wherever he is then? He might have left City by then. But it's a question, because I think the likes of Guardiola, and I've said this about Mourinho in the past, that gets under his nose. The way they are gets under his nose. Because when we're playing at home, and that managerial record will be in his head, he'll be thinking, yeah, well, I might have all this money, but you've got fucking Anfield. I don't have Anfield. Well, if I had Anfield, I'd beat you all the time. And I think if you said to Pep Guardiola, no one's listening, you'll go into this booth and tell the truth. Would you like to manage Liverpool with these resources and that fan group behind you? He'd be like, yes, I'd be fucking unstoppable if you let me manage them. It's the same as the Mourinho thing. Mourinho used to, he'd try and wind up our crowd or shut up because he wanted us. You could tell he'd be like, I'd love to have you behind me. And I think it's the same with Guardiola. So that's why he gets triggered when he's in the middle of a big game and he's like, you can fuck off. Klopp gets them behind him at Anfield, like getting them going, keeping them going. And I've got you fuckers just fucking silent.
Do you reckon he would, like, he's basically said, didn't he, as well, that, you know, if they did end up in, like, you know, whatever, League One or something, whenever they finally, like, do something about the 115 charges, he said, like, he'd stick it and all that kind of stuff. He'd be more likely to
stay than if he won the Champions League, yeah.
I mean, he's sort of got to say that, hasn't he? But I can't imagine it. I mean, I heard one on the radio today saying, like, what if they docked, like, they said, you're going to start, like, next season or season in a couple of seasons, you're going to start minus 60, you know, on your points. They were like, do you reckon they'd stay up? Do you know what I mean? Given that, you know, they sometimes clock up 100 points, like. But I mean, I'd love to see that in a way, you know, like in a weird fucked up way.
I reckon they would. Well, that'd be a great footy season. I think that
it'd be mad, wouldn't it?
If I was in the Premier League, I'd be like, fucking, we could do a TV show about this.
Minus 60. Yeah. It's kicking off the season on
so
minus 60.
Them.
Yeah, but
it's still in their hands.
But what would it do? What do you reckon it would do to their, like, collective psyche, though? You know, that you're looking at minus 60.
I reckon it would help them. I reckon their fan base would be more comfortable in that position. Ironically, do you know, the traditional fan base, back to being the underdogs, back to being the team that could get relegated. We've got to win every week just to stay up, and it's still in your hands. We haven't actually relegated yet. I reckon that'd be boss. If I was in the Premier League, I'd be like, let's just do it for the fucking TV ratings. But let me ask you to wrap this up. Would you have him as our manager when Klopp goes, or is he too much of an oddball?
Just can't be bothered with him. No, I think too much of an oddball, too much, you know, water under the bridge as well between us all and all that, and too much of a rivalry's gone on. And also a bit of a question about him. I think, don't get me wrong, of course he's a great coach. And there's a lot of things that, he's done with his club and his team that, other managers of them emulated. I mean, lots of people point to what Klopp's doing with Trent and say, well, you've nicked that off Pep Guardiola. So,
Well, Ange Postecoglou basically did that, didn't he? That was funny, that wasn't it?
Yeah, when he was saying, just watch Pep.
Just watch what Pep and copy him.
Yeah. So there's all that kind of stuff. There's a bit of a question mark about, would he be able to do it with like a lesser budget? I'm not saying Liverpool is skint but, it wouldn't be the same riches as he'd have at City. But I just couldn't see it happening, no. I mean, like, he wants a legacy with them. And I think, when I hear him talking about FFP and all that, I think there's a desperation in your voice that I think I can hear, where you don't want all this to be tainted, but that there's every chance it will be. And like, he'll be gutted. I think he'll be gutted to walk away from the club knowing that, that's how everyone views it. And so this irrefutable evidence that they claim to have but won't show anyone. But we'll see, won't we? Eventually.
You don't have to show anyone, mate. Stop going on about it.
Eventually it's got to come out, hasn't it? Well, listen, thanks very much to everyone who's sent us a tweet and jumped in the comments today. Thanks to all the people as well who threw in the super chats, particularly the 2,000 rupees from Edward. Thanks very much for that, mate.
Thank you, mate. Thank you, everybody.
Didn't really know it was a thing, to be honest. I mean, I'd heard of it before, but then when they all started diving in, I was like, oh, hello.
I like the way we've actually turned into me dad live on this show.
Yeah, tremendous.
What did he do? Press a button and send us money?
But we shall be here next week at 5 o'clock talking about how the games against Lask
just after 5
and Fulham and all that unfold. Yeah, 5 o'clock or thereabouts.
Don't
get on our back about that.
Stop kicking off about us being 3 minutes after 5.
I know, come on.
Live at 5 or thereabouts.
If you like it and you like what we're doing, do like the show, do subscribe to the YouTube channel, and do consider coming over to Patreon and having a go of the extra show there. You can get that extra show from as little as £4 a month, and you also get access to all our archive of previous shows. There's about 30 shows on there now, just me and him talking about the world, talking about football, talking about life, talking about all kinds of things. Even if you're not that into all of those shows, it just helps to keep all this ticking along. So yeah, we'll be here next week at 5 o'clock. See you then. Up the Reds.